Even the Catholic Church long held that if a man and woman said they had privately agreed to marry, whether they said those words in the kitchen or out by the haystack, they were, in fact, married. For more than 1,000 years, the Church just took their word for it. Once you had given your word, the Church decreed, you couldn't take it back, even if you'd never had sex or lived together. But in practice, there were many more ways to get out of a marriage in the early Middle Ages than in the early modern era. However, as I researched further and consulted with colleagues studying family life around the world, I came to believe that the current rearrangement of both marriage and single life is in fact without historical precedent. When it comes to any particular marital practice or behavior, there may be nothing new under the sun. But when it comes to the overall place of marriage in society and the relationship between husbands and wives, nothing in the past is anything like we have today, even if it may look similar at first glance. The forms, values, and arrangements of marriage are indeed changing dramatically all around the globe. Almost everywhere, people worry that marriage is in crisis. But I was intrigued to discover that people's sense of what the marriage crisis involves differs drastically from place to place. In the United States, policymakers worry about the large numbers of children born out of wedlock. In Germany and Japan, by contrast, many planners are more interested in increasing the total number of births, regardless of the form of the family in which the children will be raised. Japanese population experts believe that unless the birth rate picks up, Japan's population will plunge by almost 1/3 by 2050. So while federal policy in the United States encourages abstinence-only sex education classes for young people, and the media tout teenage virginity pledges, Japanese pundits lament the drop in business at Japan's rent-by-the-hour love hotels. One Japanese magazine recently pleaded, "Young people, don't hate sex." The United Nations kicked off the 21st century with a campaign to raise the age of marriage in Afghanistan, India, and Africa, where girls are frequently wed by age 12 or 13, often with disastrous effects on their health. On the other hand, in Singapore, the government launched a big campaign to convince people to marry at a younger age. In Spain, more than 50% of women aged 25 to 29 are single. And economic planners worry that this bodes ill for the country's birth rate and future growth. In the Czech Republic, however, researchers welcome the rise in single living, hoping that will reduce the 50% divorce rate. Each region also blames its marriage crisis on a different culprit. In Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, governments criticize women's families for demanding such high bride prices that it is impossible for young men to marry, even though they are eager to do so. But in Italy, commentators are concerned about the growing number of mamoni, or mama's boys, who choose not to marry. These are educated men in their 20s and 30s with good jobs who stay in their parents' homes where their mothers continue to cook, clean, and shop for them. More than 1/3 of single Italian men between the ages of 30 and 35 live with their parents. Two Canadian authors, a physician and a psychiatrist, recently argued that the crisis in family life is caused by too much gender equality. In societies with high degrees of gender equality, they predict, birth rates will fall until the culture eventually collapses and is replaced by a society that restricts women's options in order to encourage higher fertility. But in Japan, many women say they are avoiding marriage and childbearing precisely because of the lack of equality between the sexes. In China, traditional biases against women could end up making it impossible for many men ever to find wives. Because of China's strict policy limiting family size to one child, many parents abort female fetuses, with the result that there are now 117 boys born in China for every 100 girls. By 2020, China could have between 30 million and 40 million men who cannot find wives. Reviewing